The first time Daniel heard her laugh like that, it felt like a knife sliding between his ribs. Not the warm laugh he'd fallen in love with, the one that used to light up his darkest days, but sharp, dismissive, tinged with scorn. And the worst part? She wasn't alone when she said it. I mean, Daniel tries. Rachel's voice floated from the other room, followed by another chuckle. But let's be honest, he'll never be the kind of man who gets what he wants. Not really. He's too careful. Too boring. Daniel froze, his coffee mug halfway to his lips. He had only stepped out of his home office to grab a drink, but now he stood in the kitchen, pulse pounding in his ears, listening to his wife mock him to someone else. The voice that answered hers was male. Smooth. Confident. Then why stay, Rachel? Why not just walk away? Her answer came with a low laugh, almost cruel in its certainty. Because he doesn't see it. He'll never leave. Daniel's the type to cling even while the ship sinks. The words rang in his head long after the conversation drifted into muffled tones. He stood there, hands shaking, coffee spilling onto his knuckles, but he didn't feel the burn. That night, when Rachel slid into bed beside him, her smile was soft and her kiss sweet. She asked about his day, laughed at his dry jokes, even brushed her hand across his chest the way she used to. If he hadn't overheard her, he might have believed everything was fine. But now he watched closely. The way she angled her phone away from him when texts came through. The faint smell of cologne that wasn't his clinging to her hair. The way her eyes seemed to glaze when he talked about his projects at work. Every detail became evidence. Every silence, every distracted smile, every too quick, just a friend, explanation added another stone to the weight crushing his chest. And yet he didn't confront her. Not right away. Daniel was not impulsive by nature. His career in corporate law had taught him patience, how to wait for the right moment, how to gather facts before striking. And deep down, some part of him still hoped he was wrong. That maybe she was stressed, restless, and the cruel words he heard were just a slip, not the truth. But late at night, when Rachel thought he was asleep, she whispered into her phone. I wish I was with you right now. Or he's asleep. You don't have to worry. Each whisper tore another thread from the fabric of their marriage. The breaking point came at a dinner with friends. Rachel, always the life of the gathering, leaned across the table and told a story about Daniel's failed attempt at fixing the sink. She exaggerated every detail, turning his mistake into a spectacle. And then, she said, eyes sparkling with mischief, he actually Googled how to fix a faucet, while water sprayed everywhere. My big, serious lawyer husband brought down by a leaky pipe. The table erupted in laughter. Daniel forced a smile, but something in him snapped. He saw the way her eyes lingered on the man sitting beside her. The same smooth voice he had overheard in their living room weeks ago. The way she touched his arm just a little too long when the laughter died down. That was when Daniel remembered the clause. Years ago, when they had drafted their prenuptial agreement, Rachel had been impatient, rolling her eyes as Daniel carefully explained each line. She had signed without much thought, dismissing it as just another one of his boring lawyer habits. But Daniel remembered every word, including the fidelity clause. If Rachel was unfaithful, everything, every shared asset, every investment, even the house, would revert to him. She had agreed, because back then she swore she could never imagine betraying him. Now her mockery had awakened something cold and calculating in him. The next weeks were spent in silence, but not idleness. Daniel hired a private investigator, someone discreet. He gathered phone records, photographs, messages, all without Rachel suspecting. Every night, he lay beside her as she slept, staring at the ceiling, torn between rage and heartbreak. He remembered their wedding day, her trembling hands as she slipped the ring on his finger. He remembered the nights they'd stayed up talking about their dreams, their plans for a family, their vows whispered in the dark. But then he remembered her laughter, her voice saying, "He'll never leave. He's too boring." That memory hardened him. When the investigator finally delivered the evidence, pictures of Rachel wrapped around the man he'd suspected all along, Daniel didn't cry. He didn't shout. He simply nodded, thanked the investigator, and slid the envelope into his desk drawer. The decision was made. It was a Saturday morning when Daniel sat across from Rachel at their kitchen table, The same table where he had once imagined raising children together. She was scrolling her phone, absent-mindedly sipping coffee, not noticing the way he studied her face. "Rachel," he said, his voice steady. She looked up, surprised by his tone. "Yeah. I heard what you said. About me. About us. Weeks ago." He let the words hang in the air. "And I know about him." Her face drained of color. "Daniel, He raised a hand, silencing her. "Don't. Just don't." She tried again, her voice trembling. "It didn't mean anything, But Daniel leaned forward, his eyes colder than she'd ever seen them. "It meant enough. Enough to mock me. Enough to betray me. Enough to break what we built." Her lips parted, but no words came. "That prenup you laughed about?" he said. "I'm activating the clause." The silence between them was suffocating. Rachel's hands shook as she set down her coffee cup. "Daniel, please. We can fix this." For the first time in weeks, Daniel allowed himself a bitter smile. "No, Rachel. You broke it. And this time, I'm not the one who clings to a sinking ship." When he left the table, her eyes followed him, wide with shock, maybe even fear. And though his chest felt hollow, though grief clawed at his insides, he also felt something he hadn't in months: control. As he walked out the door, he realized the marriage had died long before he signed the papers. It had died in whispers, in laughter not meant for him, in the touch she gave another man. The hidden clause wasn't revenge. It was closure. And as the door shut behind him, Daniel knew that while Rachel had mocked him for being too careful, it was his caution, his quiet, patient watchfulness, that gave him the strength to finally let her go.